Oh, yes. Okay, it looks like we're on. Hey, friends. I think we're on. Let me just give a couple of seconds for the live stream to get here on Facebook. This is the Speak Up Show. And I am here with my best friend of 20 years, Maia Mikhaluk. She's in Kyiv, Ukraine. She's actually the founder and director of the international partnerships that I've been with also for 22 years. And today we are talking about Ukraine, as you understand, of course. So we are live. Yes, we're live now on Facebook. And now those of you who are joining, those of you who are watching on replay, just give us a hashtag replay, and you can always drop the questions there below and we will answer them later. And now, well, first of all, why we're doing this? It's this Speak Up show. It's when we share the truth, speak up about something that is really important. And last time we talked to someone in Ukraine also who was sharing how she's learning to make Molotov cocktails. And Maia, a lot of you, if you're following me, I'm sure you're following Maia too, because she is now writing a lot about Ukraine, about everything that is happening there. And I really would love for her to also speak and share something that is really important for everyone to know, because so much information and so much misinformation. And I would love to for the truth to actually sound here online so that you hear this. Now, Maya, before we get to that, could you just share, like, go back to when it all started? And maybe, I don't know if it's going to be hard for you to remember that moment, but if you could just share, what was that moment, and what were the thoughts that came to your mind right when you heard the explosions, or when it was happening at 5 in the morning on the 24th?
Well, as you know, we have been aware of the growing threat from the end of October, and then probably mid-January this year, it became kind of more and more obvious that this is imminent, that the war is going to happen. And of course, when the embassy started evacuating, Western missionaries started evacuating, it became kind of a confirmation that it's about to happen. We kept hearing the dates, maybe I think the date we were looking at, maybe 15th, 16th of February. It didn't happen, but that didn't ease any concerns because we knew it was coming. So every night going to bed, we didn't know what's going to happen by the morning. And I was looking, just yesterday, I was looking through my timeline on Facebook, and I looked at what I wrote on February 23rd, and it was like as if I was writing already at wartime. I was asking people to pray for God's protection. So when the explosion started at 5 in the morning, we woke up. My husband, Nick, got up first, and he went to his computer to check the news because that was it sounded like war. So he wasn't coming back. I got up, and he told me that Putin made an announcement that they started military operation in Ukraine. And at the same time, simultaneously, many major cities of Ukraine were bombed. Kyiv was one of those. So it became obvious this is the beginning of major invasion. Of course, up until that moment, there were several scenarios that were possible war. Most people were thinking that it'll be mainly again focused in the east. We're in Kyiv, in the capital. We thought he wouldn't dare. But as you can see, right now, there's no place in Ukraine that is safe. They are bombing every day Kyiv, and they have been bombing Lviv, which is the most western city in Ukraine. So it's ongoing over a week now, 33 days.
A week, a month, you mean?
Yes, I'm sorry, a month,
Yeah.
over a month. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and so they are bombing Kyiv too, because I know that
Yes.
they bombed, what was that mall that was destroyed somewhere in more
Yeah,
like
the one of
European
the
direction?
malls shopping centers was destroyed, but I don't know if you heard. Basically, if you compare the scale of bombings, Syria in 4 or 5 years was bombed with 100 missiles. Ukraine has been bombed with 1,100 missiles up to date in just 1 month, and we are hearing air raids multiple times during the day, from a good day being maybe 5 air raids to a bad day when there might be 15 air raids. And every time we hear siren, it means that something is flying toward Kyiv. So today we were with Sasha, my daughter, and my newly born granddaughter, Brianna, who's just 12 days old. We were outside and we got notification on the phone that air raid is on. In a second, the siren started working, and then we heard an explosion, and we saw a rocket in the sky that's been disarmed by our air defense.
Oh,
A lot of the rockets, probably about 60% or more, probably more than 60%, are shot in the sky before they reach the targets. And of course, Russian rockets are not good quality to start with, so a lot of those, even when they fall, thankfully they don't explode. So there hasn't been as much destruction as Russians intended, but there's definitely bombing every day. And they are now, after 1 month, we are getting a bit careless, 15 times a day. You can't get anything done. We used to, in the beginning of the war, we came to our bomb shelter. We have made a bomb shelter here in the corridor between apartments. We would come here and wait till the sirens stop. But now it's like, maybe it'll pass. Maybe it won't fly here unless we hear multiple explosions very close. Then we come here. But we are aware that the sirens are not in vain. It means something is flying and nobody knows where it's going to hit. And actually, the rockets that are being disarmed in the air, some of them are so big that the debris that fall on the city, they cause quite a bit of destruction as well. I mean, it's not like what you saw in the pictures of the shopping mall. That was like a huge hole and in the ground, and all the buildings in the area were shelled with the shrapnel. But just, I think, on the second day of the war, 300 meters from us, a building was hit by the rocket that was disarmed in the air.
Oh, yeah.
And basically the whole backside of the building was gone. Like the wall, the outside wall crumbled, the windows were all broken. So, and that's just, disarmed rocket. If the whole thing hit, then it's, yeah.
Then that would be horrible. I remember, well, remember that convoy of cars, they were going towards Kiev, and everybody was thinking, well, maybe they will surround. And then suddenly they just went and they hid in the ground. They started kind of digging in and sitting. And that's when they decided, okay, we're probably not going to win when we go in. So we're just going to start bombing or start shelling or whatever, because those cars, as far as from what I could see in the pictures or in the video here on the news, is that they started kind of hiding those cars almost and preparing them for action. Do you think that they will ever try to go into
You mean
the
the
city?
tanks, the convoy of tanks?
Yeah, some of them were not even tanks.
Yeah,
but more
there's like a line. I'm hearing like 60 kilometers, a 60-mile long line of tanks.
But they're now just sitting there, and I don't know if they are shooting. If some of those.
No, well, they're stuck on the road in one line. Part of the issue was that Russia, of course, was hoping to take over Ukraine in 2-3 days.
Yeah.
So they were not prepared to be stuck here for so long, and they ran out of supplies very quickly. So those tanks are basically, they have no gasoline. They cannot move. And they cannot bring gasoline because the whole road is blocked with their tanks. To bring the gasoline for them, gasoline is somewhere in the end of 65-mile line. I mean, they're just dead metal, and of course there are soldiers there as well, and they're hoping probably to get gasoline, but I can't imagine how it will be done. Yes, their plan is to surround, to put Kiev under siege, and theoretically there is a possibility, but I don't know. Kiev right now the whole city is preparing for the war. It's not just the army. It's not only territorial defense. The civilians who signed up to work alongside the army. I feel like the whole city. Well, we have probably about 2 million people left here, but the whole city is prepared to put up the urban, war.
Yeah.
You see Lil Kherson, which we always thought was
Kind
partly
of
pro-Russian,
pro-Russian.
Russian speaking, but they have been under occupation, what, couple weeks, and they continue protesting.
Yeah.
They're being shot at. Russians are throwing stun grenades, and Kherson people are coming to protest. Kiev, uh, protesting is our second job. Whenever we're
Yeah.
not happy, we go protesting.
Mhm.
So it's not going to be like a welcoming committee coming out to meet Russians. It's going to be, they're going to be shot at from every window. And of course, they
Mhm.
know it. So we know they're
Yeah.
coming prepared to kill us all. It's not going to be trying to appease people, in Eastern Ukraine or in Kherson. They're trying to bribe people now into collaboration. In Kiev, they understand that there's not going to be any
Mhm.
compromise. So it's them or us. So both sides understand that, I think. So since they cannot make any progress really on the ground, if you look at, they
Mhm.
were planning to take over the whole Ukraine, definitely Kiev in 3 days, and maybe
Mhm.
the whole Ukraine in a couple of weeks. They haven't captured any major city. Mariupol is leveled to the ground, but is still defending. So the new tactic is to bomb us into submission. And
Mhm.
of course, they have lots of rockets, missiles, bombs that they drop from the planes. So that's what they've been doing. They're terrorizing civilians. They're terrorizing residential areas. It's not war against army. It's war against population,
Mhm.
civilian population, in hopes that we will sort of plea with our president, let's submit, let's agree to everything, let's surrender. But that's not going to happen because
Mhm.
Ukrainians understand this is existential for us. It's us or them. And I'm not being dramatic here. It's
Mhm.
definitely, they hate us. You look at that speech Putin made on the first day when he announced war. He was hyperventilating with hate. He was almost losing some words because he was so hateful in that speech. So
Mhm.
there is no, for Ukrainians, there is no compromise. There is no. I know a lot of the world leaders would love for Ukraine. I mean, secretly would love for Ukraine to get defeated so they can go back to business as usual with Russia. Big business partner.
Mhm.
Uh, Never mind the murderer and terrorist, and what's happening in Ukraine is just inhumane. It's beyond
Mhm.
inhumane. But of course, from the point of view of business, everybody would like to make money, and it's not convenient that Ukraine is not falling. But I'm
Mhm.
sorry, we're not going to give pleasure anybody to continue business with Russia. We hope God is using Ukraine to
Mhm.
just get done with Putin regime. I think Russians will probably be thankful later, but right now they're too brainwashed to see
Mhm.
the truth, or I don't know, too afraid to admit it. So
What do you think about those people in Ukraine who were pro-Russian, maybe are still pro-Russian? Do you hear of anybody like that? I know one of my relative's boyfriend's father who says, well, good, he should have come earlier. He should do this. Like for me, I can't even comprehend this, how a person in Ukraine says, yes, it's great that he's doing this. He should have done that earlier.
well, I don't hear a lot of that. We do hear about people coordinating fire on their own cities. To me, that is beyond comprehension.
Yeah.
Like they keep catching people in Kharkov who, for money, put targets on the buildings of their neighbors. On the buildings, civilian buildings, so Russian planes or Russian rockets would bomb them. I can't comprehend that. But overall, again, going back
Mhm.
to areas of Ukraine that used to have mixed feelings, pro-Russian, some pro-Ukrainian, and the pro-Russian comes usually from watching too much TV and too much brainwashing by Russia. We see Kharkov having experienced the bombings, the viciousness, that senseless, killing people, destroying whole residential areas, destroying the historic downtown. I think after this war, Kharkiv is going to be more pro-Ukrainian than Lviv in the Western Ukraine, because they are just, there is a lot of hate right now for Russians, and I don't hear a lot of
Yeah, like
pro-Russian
they're
views
not loud
expressed.
for sure.
Well,
Yeah,
probably not loud, but
at
again,
least that is good.
if people are still watching Russian TV, maybe they still believe those lies. Though it's hard for me to understand. Like there is no place in Ukraine that hasn't been attacked.
Hmm.
Like pretty much every region has had some bombings. Of course, not to the extent like Mariupol or Kharkiv or Kiev, but it's been Cherkasy has been hit, Uman has been
Hmm.
hit, Vinnytsia, Lviv. So everybody is affected. I think again one of the things we'll see in the end of this war, Ukraine will come out more united and more
Hmm.
free from any illusions that the neighboring country is friendly. As long as Putin is in power, and maybe after that, I don't know. Right now, we don't say Putin is the only one who is at fault. We don't, Ukrainians believe there is no Russian that is good. All Russians are bad. All Russians are part of this crime. If they are silent, that's a crime already. With their silence, they support. If they are
Hmm.
putting an avatar somewhere, black avatar, that they are, very sorry, but they're not speaking up, they're not protesting, they're participating in a crime. It's very convenient right now when things are getting bad in Russia. They're beginning to say, oh, we're against Putin, let us immigrate to America. No, you're all part of this crime. You've been electing him or letting him be re-elected for 23 years.
Yeah.
It's not democracy, but they were okay with that as long as refrigerators were full, as long as the economy was good. So now they should reap all together. They should reap what they sowed.
Yeah. I'm planning to talk to my Chinese friend because I read about what you posted there too, like what's going on in China, that he's now
Oh,
brainwashing
China is.
people there too. And it's,
If you
yeah,
look at Chinese media, it's like Putin's fantasy land.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
like all his sick dreams come true in the headlines of their newspapers or media, whatever. I was seeing like after the first day of war, all Ukrainian soldiers put down their weapons. Like in
Yeah,
what
yeah.
fantasy? Or
Uh-huh.
Zelensky ran out of country in 2 days. In what fantasy? So it just whatever Putin dreams, Chinese media reports like reality.
Yeah, that's crazy. And sorry,
In what fantasies?
I was trying to read the comments to see what people are saying, and I will in just a second. And then we heard my phone. So I know, I know. And China, of course, for a lot of years, it's been the same stuff. Like they were fed information that their leaders needed. But so here in the US, of course, mostly on the news, you hear this glorifying of Ukrainian nation. It's really great to hear, of course, that Ukrainians are amazing, inspiring to the whole world and wonderful. Yes. And then I heard this one interview, which just infuriated me, just made me sick. The guy, some Tucker guy, he was interviewing an author of a book. And so this author apparently just wanted to be kind of controversial. Like, everyone is glorifying Ukraine and he just wanted to be different, I bet. And he's saying, well, we shouldn't really see it as black and white, that Russia is just so bad and Ukraine is all just good and light and darkness. It's never like this. Because look at them. First, one of these things is that Zelensky banned, good job, banned pro-Russian parties. Well, they don't know. It's like the person doesn't know Ukrainian history and doesn't know Ukrainian political system, and he's just trying to be smart on TV. It's like, yeah, they banned opposition parties. So what kind of democracy is that? And also they have Nazis in there. They glorified Bandera. So he's now talking about Bandera being a Nazi, the guy who was in a concentration camp. But anyway, and that we do have those some of people in the National Guard. So I would love for you to say something to this, like the truth.
Oh, well, the truth is, Ukraine is by no means perfect. Yes, we are just like any country in the world, any human society affected by sin and evil, and we have our problems. We have corruption, like a lot of post-Soviet countries. Prior to war, that's one of the things I will say for me as a Ukrainian. I've been always very frustrated with how much corruption we have. But we are definitely a democratic country. You look, we have number 6 president since we became independent from Soviet Union. Russia has number 2, and this guy is there for 23 years. Look who's talking. Ukraine is definitely democratic. We have freedom of speech. We have a lot of media, oppositional, pro-president. The party that was banned was pro-Russian, and they're traitors. And it's like, in 90s, Communist Party was banned because it was carrying the values and the ideology of Soviet Union. That pro-Russian party called Oppositional Platform for Life, it was banned. They are carrying this propaganda lies to the society in Ukraine. They're just continuing, like Communist Party in 90s, they're continuing to bring just poison into our society. So we all applauded that finally it's banned. And if you look at where this party members before war, most of them left the country. I mean, the leaders of this party left the country because they knew the war was going to start. They knew Kyiv was going to be bombed. So they are not even here. Don't worry about them. It doesn't affect Ukrainian democracy that they've been banned. There is oppositional party. There's a very strong opposition party called European Solidarity. And personally, I am a supporter. I've never been a supporter of our current president, though through this war times, he has gained my respect.
Yeah.
I think he was very weak and not a very good leader in the peaceful times, but there's some kind of transformation that happened to him. Like, we thought this guy's gonna run whenever he'll be given a chance. We were all surprised he hasn't. It's like, what's happening? But right now, I mean, we are concerned that he will be praised too much, and he'll think that it's all his special abilities and his genius. Hopefully he won't fall for that. But at least right now, Ukrainian society that before the war is very polarized, it's united. We have one enemy, and oppositional party European Solidarity is supporting the president right now. They're working together because, of course, Putin would love to sow discontent and competition. Right now is not the time. So again, I will say Ukraine and Ukrainians are not perfect. We are courageous, but we're scared. I can tell you how many times I've been crying just from fear, especially when Sasha was pregnant, my daughter. We're not perfect, but we're doing our best to stand for the values which I hope most of the world shares with us, for freedom, for a chance for a country to be independent, for human life. Because look at what Russians are doing. It's genocide. They hate us and they're destroying us. They're not just destroying the infrastructure, like they say. They're destroying people. Sorry.
Yeah, that's okay. And what about the Nazis? Because that's another thing people keep hearing. Well, of course, that jerk said that at the very beginning, but then
Nazis,
now,
Nazis. That's a fun one because our president is a Jew, a Jewish man. So how is that goes together? How's that going together in their minds? I don't know. But we do have radical parties, right radical parties that could be sort of with that ideology, but they didn't even get into the parliament. They didn't get enough votes to be in the parliament. Look at Russian parliament. Zhirinovsky, LDPR, that's a Nazi. It's a fascist party that consistently, since the beginning of independence of Russia, is holding quite a few votes there in the parliament. So,
and just a crazy person. Like, if you listen to him,
a lot of the things that Russia is claiming that Ukraine is guilty of, it's their own. I mean, it's a Nazi state. It's a fascist state. Look at how Russians are talking about, Russian superiority. And Watch the movie. I think it's, what is it called in English? It's Bunker. Um, do you remember that it's about the end of the last 10 days of Hitler's
Mhm.
life. It's a German movie called Bunker. I think it's Downfall in English.
Okay.
And it shows how Hitler is saying the world doesn't deserve to exist without Nazi ideology in
Oh,
Germany.
really?
And that's what we're hearing right now from Russia. They're saying if Russia doesn't exist, the world shouldn't continue. We will
Uh-huh.
bomb the whole world. They keep rattling nuclear weapons, saying threatening to destroy the world because without Russia, the world doesn't deserve to exist. So this is fascism. These are
Mm-hmm.
Nazis, and I don't see any Nazis in Ukraine. I mean, like I said again, we have the right radical parties, but they are such a minority. They never had any voice in the power in parliament
Mm-hmm.
or anywhere else. It's just marginals of the society.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And the glorification of what Yushchenko was trying to do with Bandera, because Bandera really was fighting a lot for Ukraine, fighting
Yes,
with
for
Nazis and
independence
with
from
communists.
Soviets.
Yes,
Yes,
yes, he was
yes.
fighting with communists and with that's why Soviets actually turned him into Nazi and said that the guy was in the concentration camp for crying out loud. So
Yeah.
anyway, yeah, okay. So now there is something maybe right now in your mind that you think is so important for people to hear that maybe this was also like controversial or some kind of a lie, and maybe you've talked about that before in your post, but maybe you think that people need to hear that. Is there something like this?
Well, I don't know. There are lots of propaganda lines that Russia is pushing, but I think since Saturday, right? Saturday is when Joe Biden was in Poland. He
Mm-hmm.
gave a pretty good speech. Ukrainians are skeptical about world leaders overall. We've been at this war for 33 days with, well, there is help in form of some weapons, limited though. Every day we have to kind of fight to convince them to help us to
Mm-hmm.
stop Putin because we believe that we're not stopping him just for ourselves. But Biden gave a very good speech in which he called Putin the rightful names. He said he's a war criminal, he's a butcher. For God's sake, we should stop. We should not allow him
Yeah,
to
he
to
can't be
rule
a leader.
Russia. He
Yeah, yeah.
cannot be a leader of Russia, something like that. And we thought, good, the world finally understands that, as long as Putin is in power, the world is not safe. It's not just Ukraine, it's the whole world because Poland is helping us a lot because they know they're next.
Yeah.
Putin is not hiding it. Baltics, they know they're next. And, the bully will stop when he will be stopped. So we thought, oh, good, the world understands. But then right away, French president is saying, well, we shouldn't be offending Putin. We should be keeping the diplomatic doors open. And Turkish president says, well, we shouldn't excuse Russians, but we should at least hear their point of view and try to understand what is there to understand. There's genocide. They're killing
Mm-hmm.
the population of a country. This guy lost any right to be at negotiation table. The countries should be talking about how to get rid of him, how to
Mm-hmm.
stop this regime and free Russians from him as well. So
Mm-hmm.
that's the thing. I think the world needs to understand. It's not about Ukraine. If you think he takes Ukraine and you can go back to business as normal and gas prices will drop and everybody will be happy. No, he'll continue.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody's afraid of the World War III. It started. It is
Yeah.
already happening and we are fighting it on behalf of the world, but it'll be good for everybody if you help us because
It'll just
right
be
now
shorter
Russians are
then.
controlling two nuclear power stations in Ukraine. One of those, Chernobyl, is under sarcophague. They don't even need nuclear weapons. They could just cause disaster in one of those, and this will
Mm-hmm.
affect the whole
The whole
Europe, and it
Europe.
will affect the whole world because we all breathe in the same air. So
Mm-hmm.
don't be fooled that this is about Ukraine. Stop calling it Ukraine and Russia crisis. It's Russian invasion into Ukraine, and it's already a third world war because
Mm-hmm.
countries are helping us with weapons, but not willing to engage, hoping that we'll either fall or take care of Putin. But it just it's not just our fight. It matters for each one of you. Your children are not safe, just as our children. This crazy guy has weapons, nuclear weapons that he wants to use, and he's cornered. He is against the wall. So what is his next move?
Yeah, he could just get angry that nothing is working out. So he might really push that button and do something crazy. And what are they waiting for? Like, just read the history. Just look, think about the World War II, how that started with just Poland. And then it spread. And what is happening right now is basically the same stuff. And they're all sitting there, Macron and well,
Except
Biden,
it's worse. They have nuclear weapons. Yeah.
The enemy has nuclear weapons. During World War II, it was the good guys had nuclear weapons. But
well, if Hitler had nuclear weapons by then, he would have used it. Again, watch that movie. I think it's called Downfall. You just watch it and try to picture Putin in his place, because that guy's hiding in the bunker somewhere in Urals as well, totally out of reality. And his generals, just like Hitler's generals, are scared to tell him the truth. He still lives in some kind of fantasy, thinking that they are doing okay in Ukraine. They're winning. Like, really?
Yeah. And he keeps saying that everything is going according to the plan.
Yeah.
Come on, like the whole world knows that it definitely was not your plan. So anyway, what do you think just regular people can do? Do you think that writing to a senator or a congressman? I know that some people did that.
Yes, I think people need to keep writing, need to keep pushing their governments. That's another of our concerns, media fatigue and just fatigue of the news about Ukraine. Our attention spans are very short, right? It's been already a month that the world kept an eye on Ukraine. If you guys get tired and start just going somewhere else with your attention, you will just play along with Putin. That's what he's hoping for. As long as you're putting pressure on your governments, I think, all these leaders, they're thinking about next election. They're all people pleasers, essentially. I mean, of course, they are thinking about some strategic things. They're afraid of Putin, afraid of his weapons. But if majority of population wants them to act, and they're not acting, it's not popular. I mean, populism is a thing these days, right? So it's important for people to continue pressing their governments, continue showing the solidarity with Ukraine. And of course, we appreciate all the help the world is giving with refugees. I don't know what's the latest number. It's probably more than 4 million people. It's one of the largest humanitarian crises, really. And we are a country of 40 million. Help us defeat Russians here. We don't want to be relocating someplace else. 40 million, it's a lot of people. We want to live here. We want to rebuild this country and make it even better.
Yes, and it will flourish. That's for sure. We believe that, but we need help. Ukraine really needs help. Thank you. Thank you so much. And I see, so there are comments, but I don't see questions. So if you guys have any questions, you still have a moment to ask. I see Ruth saying praying, and Jones says sending love, and Shelly Marshall is watching, and Jeannie, thank you, Sheldon. Alexei, thank you for watching, you guys, and everyone who's watching this on replay. If you can think of questions right now, you can drop them in the chat, and Maya and I will be happy to answer. Thank you so much. Thank you, Maya. So great to see you.
Yeah.
And thank you all of you who are listening. And remember, you can write, you can express your support of Ukraine in any way you can, send help, donate, but also write to your congressmen or to your senators or to your leaders in any way. So just push. If you keep doing that, then they will keep hearing it, and they will understand that, okay, if they want to be reelected, then maybe they should actually try to also push that idea in the parliaments, in
And thank you for the
Wondering.
prayers. We really need that. I mean, it's we feel that in the circumstances where we are, it's by God's grace Ukraine is standing. If you look at their size of army, our size of army,
Mhm.
the amount of the deadly weapons they have, it's only by God's grace. And
Mhm.
pray for us as a family. Pray for us as a country and a nation.
Mhm. A little Bria. I wish I could hold
Yeah,
that little baby.
it's,
I
I
remember
don't know if you can hear. She's crying.
I could hear
Uh,
some.
yeah.
Because I remember dreaming that I would take her in a stroller and go for a run together with her around the lake. Well, that's gonna happen. I know she will not be probably in the stroller, but we'll go for a run together sometime. Okay. Well, it was great to see you,
Good to see
and
you.
we'll talk soon. Bye.
Bye.